Hey, all righty, going live in Facebook. Here we go. Hello, hello, hello. This is Cassandra, Dr. K Brown, the Tilted Fedora Trainer. There we are. Hey, everybody. This is Cassandra, Dr. K Brown, the Tilted Fedora Trainer, and I am coming to you live for Talk to Tuesday Conversations. And today I have the pleasure of introducing to some and presenting to everybody. This is Cassandra. Hold on, let me get rid of my other video volume. I'm still learning to cancel my video on the Facebook Live screen when I'm going in through Zoom. But I have the pleasure of introducing my first guy interview, the first guy I'm getting to know in this new platform called Talk to Tuesday. I want to introduce to you Mr. Stephon Sizzle Suggs. Stephon Sizzle Suggs is a motivational poet. He is a co-parenting dad, and he has a special blessing to tell us about that he has experienced during this COVID season. So we're going to invite you to come on in and to get to meet Mr. Stephon Sizzle Suggs. Sizzle, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Just hearing you say it, I'm so honored and so blessed because, like you said, this is a crazy time, but there are blessings in the midst of it as well. I'm grateful.
Wow. Let's start there. Because you brought it up as a crazy time, and really it is. Let's start with what is the blessing that you've received during COVID?
Well, I one of the things I like to call myself even before this year is silver lining stuff. When I hear some negative stuff out in my head, I try to flip it to the positive. So at first I was freaked out by the pandemic. Like most people, I was really on the fringe. And I've told people this before. It had me to a point where I really thought I was, maybe going to die or whatever the case may be. And I started to think about legacy. I started to think about my family legacy. I started to think about impact. I started to think about if I was to leave, did I leave my daughter anything? Did I will my name even be mentioned beyond a week or a month? Or, I just started to think some real deep thoughts. COVID, the official shutdown was March 22nd. That was my 29th birthday. So that was a deep day for me. It wasn't no day of just wanting to turn up. It had me like, I got to get it together. So the blessing in disguise was I started to really get in line and realize what I really wanted to do. And I realized a lot of the pieces were already there in hindsight. I just didn't have that belief factor. God led me up to a few events where, I no longer was working, ended up getting in contact with Les Brown and his program, end up also with you as well and John Tallarico in that program, end up being in the Power Voice Summit. And, I'm just at a stage right now where I realize I can harp on all the bad things that's going on. My heart goes out to anyone who's lost anyone, or I could use this very same pain and I can create something in the midst of it so that when it's over, I'm big on, the things that you plant in your field, at some moment in time, it's going to harvest and we're going to see what's in that field. So I feel like, when COVID is over, I'm going to be in a position to really, really fly. And it won't be just by mistake. It's because, COVID really gave me that time to isolate myself, really think about who I am, who I want to be, and remove the pieces and the people that no longer fit in alignment with that goal and start to introduce and accept. And it was tough. I'm not going to make it seem like it was just the easiest thing in the world because your body wants to naturally resist change. But I'm finally at a point where I'm learning different tactics and I'm overcoming the adversities, sooner as
Wow.
opposed to letting it, seep in.
Wow. I love that. You're learning different tactics. I like that word in particular because tactics speaks to strategy. It speaks to not just letting things happen, but to actually figuring out a way to address those things. What are some of the different tactics that you've been able to pick up from this season?
Oh man, like it's so funny because I jumped off on this whole kick thinking I wanted to save the world, right? It's just always been in my heart to fight for the underdog. So,
Mhm.
I was really drinking the Kool-Aid at first. I'm gonna save the world, I'm gonna save the world. And thinking into results, I thank God for that. It showed me the issues with myself. It made me really look in the mirror. And it was like, whoa, I'm learning all these different things. And I'm like, man, Stephon, you have a lot of issues yourself before you want to just go out there and try to help people. So it gave me a more humble, grounded approach. I'm starting to pay attention to my anger. That's something that plagued me probably for years now that I look back on it, but I wasn't in a conscious state to even see how my anger plagued me, how I burned bridges, how I, wasn't always considerate in certain situations. It started to really make me face those hard truths why, some of the things that I don't have, what is my contribution as to why I don't have them, as opposed to looking at the factors from the outside, start to really look at the inside first. And I started to realize I need to make changes for myself before I can tell anyone in any kind of guidance what they need to do.
Wow. So you really had a man in the mirror moment.
Every day, honestly.
That that is so significant because a lot of times we get into a position and we start talking about what they did rather than what we did in response, how we reacted rather than took some time to think about it. So that moment of self-examination had to be really, really significant for you. And then to look at have COVID happen on, would you say, your 29th birthday?
My 29th birthday, that's when the country went on shutdown. And I was like,
Wow.
man, is this a sign too, man? What's going on, man?
Wow. I can imagine the shock. You've had plans, I imagine, for a couple of weeks to turn up, to really go and enjoy and celebrate, hook
Yeah,
up with some friends, and
yeah.
boom.
I'm a big Lakers fan, and I had tickets to the Lakers game in Washington D.C. versus the Wizards, and it's funny,
Mm,
I pay attention to things were going on. I came to the realization around mid to early March that game was probably going to get canceled, just
mhm.
from seeing how things were going. So I kind of knew what to expect, but at the same time, you could not expect it to hit the way that it hit. It was no one ever seen anything like that in our lifetime.
Yeah. It was a blow out of left field, literally. Literally. But I'm glad to hear that you're using this opportunity to grow.
Oh yeah.
And rather than just go through, you're growing through.
Yes.
And because it is at y'all, listen, COVID is gonna end one day. It will not last forever. There's a verse, there's a phrase in the Bible that comes up quite often in the Old Testament. And it says, and it came to pass. COVID has come to pass. It will end. The question is, where are you going to be when it ends? What did you do with all this free time that you complained you didn't have time before? What did you do with this free time? There are
Amen.
people who took classes, people who read books. I'm working on decluttering my home because perfect time to do it. There's no reason for my house to be junky when we've been stuck at home. So, talk to me about how you got the nicknames Sizzle.
Sizzle. I I always call myself Sizzle. To me, Stephon is who I am. That's at this stage the dad, the man, things along that line. But Sizzle was always more like my creative name. In the past when dabbled in like rapping and always done poetry and just anything as far as like that stage presence. I think of Sizzle. It's like my alter ego. I feel more comfortable. I feel different. I feel like Stephon and Sizzle, they one and the same, but there's some little character differences, if you ask me.
The character differences? Okay, I'm going to ask you, what are those character differences? You
Um,
had to say, if you ask me.
Sizzle is a little bit more. That's like I won't say cocky. I don't like that word. I would say that's the confident, airy. You got this. I know you got this. Like I know It's that confidence, that flair. And Stephon is that one that's a little bit more analytical, a little bit more, don't toot your. He's more humble. I would say Stephon is a little bit more humble. Sizzle is like, I got this. Give me the mic. Let's go.
So you have an alter ego too.
Yeah, it's a difference.
I think a lot of us are floating around with those two personalities, and not that it's Jekyll and Hyde, because one is not crazy evil and the other one is a crazy intellectual. It's just that there's this outgoing person who shows up and becomes the life of the party, is engaging, interesting, fearless, willing to take a risk. And then there's this other one that likes to lay back and sometimes be a little hidden and not
That's so
quite
true.
as in the fray.
That's so true. I
Yeah.
say that I'm like an extrovert and an introvert, and Sizzle is the extrovert, and Stephon is that's the introvert. He's likes to just be with his daughter and off the scene, and I might not even be posting or even want to post what we doing. I just want to enjoy the moment. But Sizzle is like the, hey man, everybody see what I'm doing, the kind of thing. It's funny like you said like that, but I think that's so true.
Mm. So it's literally two sides to the same coin. Same individual just presents in these two different ways. And that's okay. That's okay. There are some people who are integrated and they're all on all the time. And I tell you, I get tired.
I do too, and that's another thing COVID taught me. COVID taught me two things: to be able to balance between the two, and it's okay to be able to feel that way. I used to question myself for, why am I this way one day? Why am I this way this day? And I understand now that I am me. I'm
Mhm.
always me. It's just different variations, and I can, take the time to process between the different states. I don't have to get so caught up in certain moments as I used to. I used to let some things drag me so far down, and I still have my moments, but I'm able to pick myself up much quicker now because Sizzle will come around
Mhm.
and be like, "Hey man, we got stuff on the plate now. We got stuff to do. Come on, boy, let's go."
I'm liking both Sizzle and Stephon. Would you compare it to like Steve Urkel and Stephon?
Yeah,
Music for Family Matters.
yeah. Just a little bit more gritty, but I, yeah, I will compare it to that. Yeah, yeah.
We got Steve Urkel and Sizzle, or actually Stephon Suggs and Sizzle, and Sizzle brings the sizzle. He brings the heat. I love it. I love it. Talk to me now. You've mentioned several times your baby girl, your daughter. Now, don't give me her name. I don't want it unless you want to. How old is she?
She's 6.
Oh man, that's a fun age.
It is. It's a
That's
blessing.
a fun age. Now you're co-parenting.
Yes.
You said you and mom are not together, but you are together when it comes to the baby girl.
Yes, for sure.
Talk to us, send us some messages. Talk to some brothers who are struggling in that area, and talk to some sisters who are struggling in that area. And how do they make this thing work?
For first off, I want to say I'm completely blessed and grateful. And it's not always easy. We have our ups and downs, but I will say one thing that makes it able to work. We both love our daughter more than anything in this world, and I truly think that alone makes us be able to be selfless in moments and make certain sacrifices and bite our tongue. Even I give you an example. To be honest, I don't really tell many people stuff like this, but I don't really like holiday seasons, like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I've heard other people say things like that, a few loss around that time of year, a few things like that, just not always the best times. I make the most of it, but these last few years, my daughter has been my saving grace for that. She's always been around. This past Thanksgiving was the first time I wasn't with my daughter for Thanksgiving because she was with her mom and her family. A part of me was like, it hurt. But at the same time, I was able to make that sacrifice because I also understand she needs to see, her mom and her mom. I'm happy she got to see her great grandmama, and just memories that's part of her life that I can understand. It's not always about me and how I feel. And it took us time to get to some of those conclusions. But my message for the men and my message for the women is, truly take time to think about what's best for the child. My saying is be the void. Think about some of the moments you had as a child. Think about certain feelings and experiences you may have went through because of certain things your mom and your dad had going on, And we don't repeat the cycle is all I say. I know this may be all you know, but seek counseling, find friends, look at people who you see doing it in a way that you respect, and ask tactics and tips from them. Don't get advice from people who are struggling, but don't do no blind leading the blind kind of things, but reach out to people that you respect and that you see obviously they have some sort of handle on, co-parenting, or just at the bare minimum getting along for the sake of your child.
Mm, I love it. I love it. It really, you and baby girl's mother have come to a point where it's whatever's good for her. That's what we're going to do. Whatever works for her benefit. That's what that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. So it may mean I'll give up a holiday here and there because she has family on both sides,
And I gotta be
and
considerate of that. Yeah.
yeah, and she has a right, not only a right but a need. She
Yeah.
needs to know family on both sides, and I firmly say the more people pouring positively, there we go, positively into that baby's life, the better.
Oh,
The more
Joe.
people who are pouring good into her.
For sure, and they great for her, and I would be mad at myself if I tried to deny anything like that, and I just couldn't see why I would do that, because if I did, once again, that would be a moment of me being selfish and thinking about myself and
Mhm.
completely neglecting her. And man, I'm on this earth to serve her. I truly do feel
Mm.
that way. Everything that I do, she's my motivation. She's the push. She's the reason that I climb. I want to have leave a legacy for her and her children. And I want her childhood and her upbringing to be better than mine. So she's the root behind everything. So I gotta always keep her in mind.
Wow. So now that's spoken like a true father. That is spoken like a true father. She's the motivation. And it's something about once you have a baby in your life that it cuts out a whole bunch of junk because you really do understand. If you understand and get the responsibility, but not just the responsibility, the blessing that God has given you in that child, that you're so right. That changes everything.
Amen. I was living a different life when I found out I was about to have a child. I was facing some legal issues, and I could just see. I'm so grateful because I could just see a different me today. Like anybody
Mm,
know my past, like I could just see things went a different route if I didn't get that message that I was about to have a child. And I'm so grateful because it didn't immediately wake me up, but it did start to plant the seed that, man, Stephon, it's bigger than you.
mm,
I remember like it was yesterday when I found out I was having a child. I wrote my daughter, I wrote down on this note on my notepad all the things that I didn't know how to do that I knew I would need to know how to do in order to be a good father. And it was just like this whole big list of things. And it's like I'm like 22, and it's things like I need to learn how to drive. I need to learn how to cook. Like just all these things that I'm just coasting and floating through life to this point. Not even no structure, no guidance, no nothing. And I just sat down and just wrote all this list of stuff. I'm like, I don't really know what I need or what I need to do, but I know I might need to do these things. And I just put them down, and I just slowly just look back, and over the years, I just checked them all off, checked them all off, checked them all off. And I'm just grateful to see where I'm at today. I still got a lot of growth to do, but she's everything. She's the reason for change, man.
mm. That is so significant. Now I know you write poetry. Did you write a poem for her when she was born?
I did. I have tons of poetry for her. She knows a few of them. I read a few of them to her. When she was young, we made our own little song. Like she's even a little creative poet now and likes to sing and things like that because she knows that's how daddy gets down.
Mm. That is awesome. So now we've got a new Maya Angelou in the works. She's
Okay.
coming up. It is so significant to give them, number one, to give them those artistic skills and then to celebrate those artistic skills with them.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that she's got a whole new level of expression and a way to express. Now, have you always written poetry? Has that been a love since childhood?
Yeah, I started writing poetry in like middle school because it was this poetry class, and it was this girl that I really really liked. I guess God was leading me that direction. I only joined the class because of her, I was, kind of a problem child in the class, but the teacher made me write a poem one day, and it was so good. He was like, "You wrote this?" And I could just tell he took a liking to me. I didn't even realize how good I was at the time, but I
Wow.
could just. And shout out to Mr. John. He always kind of cultivated me and had me working on poems. And like now I can look back on it and be like, wow, you really did give me that solid foundation. But at the moment I was just like, oh, I'm just writing my thoughts, because that's how my poetry is. It's like
Mm-hmm.
therapy for me. It's really me just writing my thoughts of the day, of the moment. I just so happen to have a skill to be able to rhyme while doing it. So it's natural to me.
Wow. That is so it's the role of a significant teacher.
Yeah, I would say that he played a huge role. I did not really even understand poetry or even that kind of thing. I think him when it comes to poetry, I think Les Brown when it comes to motivational speaking, because prior
Mm-hmm.
to learning about Les Brown, I didn't really even know that that was a lane. I just felt like I was like a regular person in life that liked to motivate people and speak to motivate people, but I did not know you could like, get on stage and like really like make a grand living from it. I was like, oh snap. And then Les Brown's story resonated with me because, no formal college education, just, it's always tough for me to hear people who succeed, who I feel like were always in a position to succeed. And don't get me wrong, everyone makes their own destiny, but just coming from the ground, the dirt
Mm-hmm.
bottom where I came from, I always wanted to have hope of those people who, wow, maybe they didn't go to college, maybe they didn't have this connection. I wanted to see examples that was possible. And Les Brown was that first person that really made me believe, wow, Stephon, your background doesn't matter at all. Look at this guy. Like, it's possible. Like he says all the time, like, it's possible.
Yeah.
And you have to start off by knowing it's possible. And you'll go from there.
That is so real. So real. I heard one of his speeches and he said he's in a room full of educated people. He started out doing a lot of speaking at a lot of multi-level marketing conventions. And that just happens to be when multi-level marketing first came out, there were a lot of really educated people who got into it. It started out with people who had money and they began to build it. So he's in he's giving the speech and he says, how many of y'all have bachelor's degrees, associate's degrees? And group raises their hands. How many have bachelor's degrees? And the group raises their hands. Master's degrees, doctorate's degrees, and all of these people are raising their hands. He says, how many of you spoke at Harvard? And almost every hand goes down. He says, I don't have one of those degrees, but I've spoken at Harvard. And he says, to the others of you in this room like me, you can speak at Harvard too. There's greatness in you. And he used that as his launching pad. There's greatness in you. You don't have to have a degree to speak at Harvard and get paid to be there. He's spoken to Harvard, no degree of any type. Yeah, that is his story is an encouraging story. And it is one of those stories that makes you go, okay, well, I got a little bit of college. I don't have a degree, but I got some college.
Y'all did
So if he spoke at Harvard with no college, I ought to be able to speak at MIT with a little college. So I sound like I got some sense. So that I can understand how you related to that story. Talk to us about your growing up
Man, growing up
and
was
where you found kinship.
it was interesting, man. It was like I said, I look back on it now, like my testimony, my story. It made me who I am today. I'm so grateful for it. I'm no stranger to adversity. It very tough, man. Very poverty stricken. Man. I don't really know how far I want to go with it, but I'll say this. Me and my siblings, we, was in foster care and things like that. My mom and my dad, they battled with their, addictions and afflictions. And I realized as a growing up now, being the age that they were when they had me, life is tough, man, especially back in those days. I don't fault them for it. I love them for it. I lost my dad a few years ago. And it
Wow.
hurts me because I wish there are certain conversations as a grown man now that I feel like I'm a man now. When I lost him, I still kind of felt like a boy. Like I wasn't even understanding myself as a man. So there's certain things I wish I could talk to him about now, advice, just little wisdoms, little tidbits I wish I can get. But it's one of those things at that moment I realized they were dealing with, depressions and their own issues. And that's why things had to go the way they went. But God
Mm-hmm.
protected me and my siblings. Like, I'm the oldest of five. I'm 29. My youngest siblings, they're 21. All of us are still alive. None of us are in jail. Like to grow up in those circumstances. I know people who had better circumstances that's worse off. Me and all of my older siblings, we all got our own place, all got our own cars. Like, I'm just grateful because in the midst of all that pain, in the midst of all those, hungry nights, sleepless nights, sleeping on the floor, all that stuff that I went through, I'm still here. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't break me. I'm still stronger, and I still walk around with a smile on my face. And I know that that's a God. People see me smiling and stuff, and I'm like, man, you don't even know my story. You think I'm smiling because everything good? I'm smiling because I got through what I got through, and I know that the future's bright. So it's like that for me.
That is wonderful. I love it. So from the guttermost, and now you're headed to the uttermost.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
I,
sure.
I
And I
love it.
felt like I had to go through that because God humbled me and He gave me that empathy. Like I said, I'm the voice for the voices. Like, no matter how
Mhm.
how I go, I'm gonna always be that person that care about the people without a voice. Because I remember that day. Real quick story. When I was working at the bank, I felt like I used to frustrate my coworkers because the people who walked in the bank who had no money, those be the people I'd be talking to the most. And that atmosphere, the business atmosphere, they want to just deal with the clients with a bunch of money so they could try to advertise different things to them and stuff like that. And I was like, yo, I'm that person that was giving motivational speeches, and that guy to walk in, I'm looking at his account, he got $4 in his account. I'm like, hey, bro, it's gonna be okay. Like, I'm that person. I'm looking at him. They like, I don't want to talk to him. Let Stephon get him. And I've always been that person that just care a little bit more about the person who's going through something than the person who got it all. Like, that don't really excite me or ignite me. I care about the people who kind of going through something, because that lets me know that I need to remove my ego and that the world is bigger than me. And when I keep thinking me, and all this different stuff I want to do, man, part of my purpose is also giving back and to make sure
Mhm.
other people get healing. So when people send me messages or, I appreciate what you're doing, or keep climbing, or you motivate me, or things along those lines, it lets me know that I'm doing something right. You know what I mean?
Wow. That is awesome. That is awesome. You mentioned you dropped a couple of nuggets that I want to go back and pick up. You talked about filling the void and then being the voice for the voiceless. Talk to me about some of the voids that you're seeing that you've been uniquely suited, because I believe that each one of us is uniquely created to play a special part in literally the puzzle of the history of God. So
Amen.
everybody's got a role to play, and every role is important and significant. So since you've mentioned that you fill the void, and I wrote that in my notes, filling the void. What are some of the voids, or what is the void that you are uniquely suited to fill?
Gotcha. I love that question, and I needed to hear that question. So some of the things that are the main focal points that I work on in my life, I feel like God is sharpening me and really testing me in those areas, because these are the areas I need to be whole, because my future is going to pertain a lot to helping other people in these areas. And I can't be that person that's telling you need to do this, when I don't even take that medicine. So
Mhm.
those areas I would say would be one, definitely parenting. I from everything that I went through, from everything that everyone around me went through, I realized, and not to say that I'm the perfect parent today, but I realized that's one of those things that's an emphasis. I realized one of my purposes on this earth is to inspire and to motivate people to give more to their children, and to realize that, it's cliche, but it's true. It's so true. The children are the future. They really are. And you got to spend time into your child. It's tough, man. And I know that a lot of people, it's so tough, and you got social media tugging at them, and peers, and all these other things. But you got to find that solo one-on-one time to tap into your child, and to really
Mm.
get your child to understand what's going on. And that can start from a younger age. And you got to really start to cultivate them and really get them to understand that, you can have your fun as a child. Don't get me wrong, be a child. I love that my daughter's a child. That's the best thing in the world. I don't want her to have to worry about the things I had to worry about as a child. I had to grow up too fast. I want her to be a child, but at the same time, I also want her to understand that everything, there is a strategy of life. I don't want you don't have to just become a teenager or grown to realize that life is a system. We need to be teaching our children that the whole way. So there are no blind sides when life starts to give adversity. They are prepared for some of the things that they're going to have to face, regardless of how much you love them, how much you protect them, how much any of that, how clean you keep them, and how good their clothes look, and all these things that I feel like parents put so much of attention into, and they don't worry about the real healing things. And I feel like that's a big part of my mission. I also feel like when it comes to the African American man and expressing his emotions, I feel like I express my emotions, and I just look at myself a little deeper than most people, and not to like say that's good or bad or anything, but I can see how my place may be to help people just challenge their emotions and challenge their feelings. Like I said, poetry. I want to inspire people to write more poetry, or my thing is this: find some type of way of healing, whether it be mentorship, whether it be therapy, whether it be your pastor, whether it be whatever it is that fits you, yoga, whatever it is. But one thing that I would also say in the meantime is poetry. I'm big, write it out, man. I'm big on write it out. So if you can't tell no one, write it to yourself. Keep a little journal, keep a little book where you can write it to yourself.
Wow. Those are two, I mean, both of those are powerful to deal with the issue of parenting. And we see with the generations that are coming behind you, because the generation that I'm in, I got a few years on you. I'm a little further down the road than you are. You've already told me that because I know your age. So I know I got sons older than you. Um, but the parenting tip is so real because we're not preparing our children for the children. We're not preparing our children for life. So they're not able to prepare their children for life. So to hear you say that you sat down and wrote down a list of the things that you knew that you felt you would need to be a proper father to your daughter. And then before she was born, to start working on developing those skills and in getting those abilities. And the whole time she's growing up, you're going to be adding to that list
Oh, for
because
sure.
you never get to perfection as a parent. What I've learned, and I'll give you this as a motto. This is what I've held on to as a motto because I raised 4 boys and then adopted a fifth young man who just moved in one weekend. He was like, "That's it. I'm here. I'm never leaving. I'm now your son." And we got him that way, and he still calls me mom to this day. But I've told people, and what I told myself is, I'm not a perfect parent, but I am the perfect parent for my son. And they're not perfect children, but they are the perfect children for me.
Amen.
And that's it. And I've run on that model. I've told them that. I've told other people the only perfect parent is God.
Amen.
He is the only one. And if we follow his example, we won't be perfect, but we'll be all right.
We'll be pretty clear. We'll be as best as we could be
We'll
on
be as best as
the
we
version
can
of
be.
her.
That's it. There you go. We'll be the best version of him that we can. And if we begin to do that for our kids, operating on that, taking time to actually parent our children. And I cringe every time I see a little kid sitting on a couch or a bed, got an iPad or whatever, and they're engaged with that and not with a human being. And I understand, give them an hour, give them an hour, hour and a half a day. But after that, they need to be in front of a person. You need to be sewing into them. Other adults, other kids, take them to the park. The sun needs to sow into them. A couple of bugs need to sow into them. They need to get some stings, some cuts, some scrapes, so that they know how to handle it when they get hurt by life. Because so many of them can't. And we're struggling. And then to talk about the emotion side and to have people deal with those emotions and understanding that emotional healing is real.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is
This shit
is
taught me that
real.
too, man. I just thought that I could just like power my way. It was so funny, like and like I feel like life mocks me sometimes when it teaches
Mm,
me a lesson. I really thought I could just power through and like just mentally just overcome any hurdle. And I was one of those people. Shame on me. I used to think like mental health. You just got to be stronger. And I used to just think all this other stuff. And I feel like God was like, you're not gonna fully understand it until you go through it. And then this
mm,
year, listen, I will never ever talk bad about anyone who's dealing with any kind of mental hurdle again, because
Mm,
God made me have to go through that, because once again, that's one of the fields that I'm going to be called upon to help people heal in. And I
mm.
can't be having some whole half-hearted remorse to them. I have to really understand how they feel and really be able to hold them and meet them where they at and be able to deal with them. And I realize how real that is.
So you want to be able to really operate from a place of empathy.
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah. I got that's
when
my
you
thing.
say I feel your pain,
My
it's
heart
not just
ain't in it.
a
If my heart
slogan.
ain't in it, if my heart ain't in it, then I shouldn't be doing. Because nothing I do is really. I mean, obviously, in this world, we need money, we need funds, we need things to live. But my true motivation, and that's how I know it's a calling thing deeper than anything.
Mm,
It's the real healing. It's the real growth. I really genuinely want to help people. I really genuinely want to some degree spark a light in people, plant a seed, or be the
wow.
person to plant a seed for the person who plants the seed. I give God all the glory at the end of the day, but I feel like this is what he's leading me to do. And I
Mhm,
and I know it has to be him, because I did not. I look at it like this. For me to be 29, on one hand, it's like, a lot of people be like, wow, you're pretty young to be thinking this way. But on the other hand, I look at it as like, for the lack of guidance and the lack of, just mentorship and things I had in my life, for me to come to this conclusion this quick, it lets me know it's deeper than me. It's much
mm,
deeper than me, because all the people around me that were exposed to all the same life that I was exposed to, I don't hear them talking like that. I feel like it's
mm.
just a different voice talking in my head, and I'm starting to really pay attention to that. And I don't have to pay attention what nobody else doing, because they not the vision that's on my channel, that God put on my channel. They can't get this channel. It's one that you can't even reach. So I don't expect you to understand some of the things I'm doing, because you can't see what I see.
All right. I have no argument with that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm enjoying this conversation. You said we wouldn't have a problem with talking. So this is good. I'm really, really enjoying it. You mentioned the word, and I hear the poet in you, and I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to do some poetry for us. But I hear the poetry in the phrases that you're using. You just talked about a mental hurdle, instead, what people call mental illness, you've termed a mental hurdle. I love it. Expand on that for me, because I can see the idea. It's an obstacle. It's not something that you have to resign yourself to.
Yeah, it's like those obstacles that aren't maybe quite physical, but the ones that's in your head. Somebody said to me a few weeks ago, and it kind of stuck with me. It was like, you sometimes make mountain out of moles. And I may have heard that phrase before, but it really resonated. I guess I was at that point where really I needed to hear that. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I'll make the mountain bigger, these hurdles. There are things that may, at the surface level be an obstacle, but in my mind, I'll make it so much bigger. And you got to get over those mental hurdles. You gotta look at things for where they are, and you got to also understand that whatever it is, I still have to do it. My destiny is on the other side of that fence.
Mm,
So I can keep complaining about how high the fence look, or how wide it is, or whatever the case I want, but I know my destiny is on the other side. And the
mm,
sooner I do what I need to do to get to the other side, the least amount of time I would even have to complain, because I'll already be there. And while
mm.
some of my counterparts are still back there complaining about the fence, I've already just devised a plan to get over the fence at this moment, and we moving on to bigger and better things. And that's just how I kind of keep my mind. Just keep it moving forward, man.
I like that. I like that. That takes the image of the race, and we just one hurdle at a time, and don't sit back complaining that the hurdle is there. Think about ways to get over it and to keep going. I love the fact that you keep your eye on your destiny, on where you're going. What's your now in the thinking? Sizzle and I met part of the Power Voice group, and then we joined another group called Thinking into Results, where we're really learning to manifest our big desires and our big goals. So, can you, if you're comfortable, what's your C goal?
I'll
If you're
give
not comfortable, I'm good. But if you're comfortable, I want
I'll,
to hear what your destiny includes.
I'll give people a snippet of it, because I'm a high flyer in the thinking, but the gist of it is, I want to be known all over the world as the motivational poet.
Oh,
That's simple. I want to get paid. I want to help people. I want to heal people. I don't want to tell you my amount because I don't want to, certain people hear it and it might inspire them. Certain people, I just
Mhm.
leave the amount where the amount is. But
I'm good with the motivational
I was gonna
poet
say
being
the
known all over
premise
the
is
world.
I want to be the motivational poet all over the world, and whatever comes with that, give God all the praise.
That works. That works. The motivational poet. Now we talked with before. We talked a little bit, and I asked you about, do you rap or do you do spoken word? And I have never. I knew there was a difference. I never thought about what that difference really is. Can you do me a favor? Break that down. What are the distinctions between spoken word poetry and Snoop Dogg?
So, I consider to some degree it all being forms of, art. I see it
Mhm.
all as art at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But for me, someone that actually I do a little bit of both, I would say the distinction for me is rapping is a little bit more to the rhythm, to the beat. You'll listen to a beat, you'll listen to a tune, and you'll kind of sync your words with that tune. And sometimes for me, when it comes to the rap culture, some of the words and things can get lost behind the beats, especially a lot of the beats people like to use today, the catchy beats, and you got your head bobbing to the beat, and they might not necessarily be hearing what the person's saying. So for me,
Mhm.
with spoken word, it's no tone or maybe some mellow piano tone or something, but the emphasis is more so on what I'm saying, not the beat.
Mhm.
And you can hear a song and not like the beat, and the person could be saying the best thing that you could be listening to, and you might not, I don't like this song, I don't like this song. But with my spoken word, my words are the audience. My words, it's all about my words. It's you know what I mean? The whole thing is the indentation, it's the flow, it's the pause, it's the make you think, um
Mhm.
it's all of that flow that it's a little bit different to me. I feel like spoken word is a little bit more impactful, but I do
Mhm.
feel like I said, people love music. Music is impactful as well. It just depends on whatever your ultimate goal is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing you say that a lot of times, unfortunately, rap can sacrifice words and meaning for rhythm.
Yeah, and that's how I
Mhm.
feel when if I'm trying to like write a rap song. There are times where because you hear other songs in the culture, you know that it can be done. And another thing I used to realize with the rap game real quickly, the people who rap the best, that it takes longer to make that type of stuff. If you're really putting all your blood, sweat, and tears, it takes a little longer. So you're not going to be dropping stuff as frequently. A lot of people who drop every single day, no knock to it, but they're able to just go in the booth and freestyle stuff. And some of that stuff is good, but I feel like the real hidden art is when you take your time and you cultivate it and you really make it a masterpiece. So, I feel like the real rap, it takes much more time than some of the stuff you hear today and the people who are able to make song after song after song. That's why it's so much hit or miss today as opposed to back in the day. Because back in the day, it was a certain level of professionality. If you was about to go make a song, you ain't about to just be wasting your time and feel like I could just make 100 songs today. You'll put all your energy into that one and make sure this one do what it needs to do, and then we'll worry about the next one.
Wow. That is significant. Hey, I've got to identify myself. This is Cassandra Brown, Cassandra Dr. K Brown, the Tilted Fedora trainer, and I'm talking today with Stephon Sizzle Suggs. I almost got those consonants messed up. Stephon Sizzle Suggs, the motivational poet. And we've been talking about co-parenting and working with his daughter's mother so that they actually do what's best for her. We've talked about the blessing that he's received from being in this time of COVID and making the shift to spend time by himself and to figure some things out. Y'all, we had the lockdown on his 29th birthday. Can you imagine something like the lockdown just canceling all of your birthday plans? But he is surviving it and he's coming out stronger, better, and wiser as a result of COVID. To be so young and to be so wise, it's an honor for me to be able to interview you on this platform. I want to thank you for coming on. Now, we've talked about filling the void, and that void being parenting and helping people to get in touch with their emotions. So I got one more question and then I want to get into your poetry. What drives you? What's that now we've already talked about your daughter being a motivational force, but eventually baby girl's going to grow up. We trust that the world is going to keep going. We're going to get out of COVID. She's going to become an adult. What's going to be your driving force then?
Great point. what drives me beyond my daughter, like I said, everything happens for a reason. I really can't express how traumatic my childhood was from my point of view, and
Mm,
just how it was tough. It was very, very tough. And I
mm,
realized that it was so tough that a lot of people are broken by how tough it was. You know, a lot of
mm,
there, I see situations, I see people with similar aspects, and I pay attention to the world. And then I also noticed that some people let that toughness be the thing that is they let they test be their testimony. So the
mm,
thing that fuels me more than ever is this sense of, if I can come from where I came from, seen
mm,
things I've seen, been in the positions I've been in, and I know there are a lot of people who saw me along the way. And if I can make it to where I know I'm destined to be, that is going to motivate so many people. It's so much bigger than me. And that's going to always push me and motivate me, because I
mm.
know it's bigger than me. You know,
Yeah.
even days when I go in my slumps, and I get a text message from somebody that I didn't even necessarily notice was paying attention to what I'm doing, and they'll say something like, "Hey man, you know, keep doing that," or some older person to say something like, "Hey man, I love the things you're doing with your daughter. It motivate me, you know, it made
Mm,
me want to, you know, go call my daughter, or do this, or show me that." You know, it's just that exposure. It's just, like I said, being the void, being what was missing, filling in those spaces that you remember feeling some type of way. And like I said, I'm 29, and I'm just coming to this position of leadership. And I
mm.
truly do feel, not everything happens for a reason, but if I
Yeah.
would have had more guidance and more along the way, man, I feel like I could have probably done this at 19. You know, the talent was always there. I just
Mm,
didn't believe in myself or have people around me to really cultivate or guide me. It's no coincidence that soon as I get that Les Brown and John Tallarico, I start soaring. Soon as I get that
yeah.
community, it's no coincidence to me that soon as you align me with like-minded, higher achiever thinkers, because your
Mhm.
environment is everything. It's everything. As soon
Yeah.
as you put me in that different kind of environment, even if it was virtually due to COVID, I started to soar. So, you know, I see the importance of, you can help someone pivot. You can change their step. That's going to always push me. When I see people down and out, when I see people don't believe in themselves, when I see anyone that reminds me of a person I used to be, that
Mm,
will always push me. That will never stop. That will never stop.
yeah. You will always have an audience. The Bible says that that unfortunately Jesus said the poor we will always have with us. There will always be people who are stuck in a poverty mindset and they need somebody to come along who was in poverty but didn't get stuck in the mindset of poverty,
Amen.
and to bring them out of that. They see you and know that they can come out because they know they're different. I love the fact that you said, I know this came from God, because other people started out in the same place and they don't think the way that I think. They don't say the things that I say, and they're not trying to do what I'm doing.
Nah.
So you know that that's external. It's
Yeah.
not intrinsic to the situation. And you also promote that your situation where you start out doesn't define you.
Nah.
It doesn't determine your destiny. Your start out doesn't, it's not your definition, and it's not the determiner of your destiny. Lord, the skies look bright for you, bro.
I'm gonna flip it on his head, man. When people should be like, "Man, you're lucky," or this, and that. I'm like, "What? Do you know what I came from? Like, if I could
Mm,
do this, are you serious? You're just looking at these now results, but man,
you had thought about the journey. Come on, they're looking at the destination. They ain't thought a bit about the journey.
oh man, you know it.
Don't know where you've been. Don't know where you're hey, that's real. That's real. They look at who they see now, and they have to understand that this is not who you've always been. This is who you are now. And the great thing is that who you're going to be is even more phenomenal. Come on. Yes,
Ooh, who knows what I'm gonna do?
yes.
Who
Don't
knows? Who knows?
nobody knows what your full potential is except for the one who made you. He's the only one who knows the plans he has for you. And they're plans to bless you, not to hurt you, plans to give you hope, plans to give you a future. So
Amen.
your full potential, you ain't even maxed out an nth of it.
Nah,
So I'm excited. I'm excited. Listen, let us have some poetry. Tell me about your projects. How can people reach out and get in touch with you? Where can they find you? When's the book coming? Give me all that.
got you. All right, I'll go down the whole list. So God is so good. I told you my 29th birthday I spent reflecting on if I was going to die or not. My 30th birthday, I will be relaunching my first book of poetry. I'm going to release it on March 22nd, 2021. We're in that final nitty gritty stage. And I decided to release it on my birthday because I think that's special to me. And like I said, I like to flip adversity on its head. And I think what's the best way to really, get back? Like how I'm not affected by that 29th, my 30th, I'm doing something more amazing than ever. I'm about to be an author,
All right. All right.
I'm working on that. I'm also a part of the I believe, are you as well, the Hunger for the Hustle book?
Yep.
Yes. That's
Turned
amazing.
in my first chapter.
That's amazing. I turned in my chapter as well. So I'm honored to be a part of that opportunity with so many amazing people, and it's for a good cause. Um, honest as well. My first podcast, I've been put in the fire. I've been challenged for a few people. I have an official start date. It's going to be December 14th. I can go ahead and officially say that because I'm
What's
not.
the name of it?
It's going to be the Be the Void podcast.
Be the Void podcast.
Yes, it's gonna be the
All
Void,
right.
and my first guest is actually gonna be Jake. I'm excited about that. This is something I knew I was supposed to be doing for a long time, but that terror barrier just be in your head, talking you out of it. But I realized my voice is needed, and I'm grateful to be on other people podcasts, and it kind of
Mhm.
gave me that build up confidence to talk on the camera. And it's like, okay, this is just like talking to someone in my living room. I feel comfortable
Mhm.
talking to people. I'm a people person, so just let my personality shine and show people who I really am, on my own platform as well. So I'm excited about that. For now, people can reach me on Facebook, Sizzle Suggs. I'm still learning Instagram. Bear with me. Right now, I am on there. It's Sizzle322 at Sizzle322. But I'm still getting the hang of it. We talked about that earlier. I'm like an old young soul at the same time. I really just got back into social media in like June, but we getting there. We don't, no excuses, right? We're going to make it happen.
There you
Um,
go.
as far
Now,
as
what's the name of the book? What's the name of the book?
honestly, I have not gave an official. I have a name in mind, but
Oh,
I don't.
all
Sometimes you
right.
got to feel like 100% comfortable. I don't feel 100% comfortable with that, so I
Mhm.
challenge myself to have a final deadline decision by mid month. So I was
Okay.
hoping you didn't ask me that because I don't feel comfortable yet.
I'm good. I'm good with that. That's
It
that's like
doesn't stick
asking
the way
people.
that I want it to stick. It doesn't. I'm not like that's it.
Yeah, that's like, well, there are sometimes, when a woman is pregnant, everybody asks, do you know the sex? Is it a boy or girl? And have you chosen a name? And sometimes you really can't choose a name until you see the baby.
That's what we did.
And that's when you see the baby, you look at the baby, and it's like the name just pops. She looks like A, he looks like A. So I can understand that. You need to get the whole book together, hold it in your hands, read through the poetry, and then the name will come to you.
Yeah, because I don't want to misspeak.
Right. And it'll be the right name, and it'll fit the book. It'll work. And the cover, the concept, all of it will come together as it's ready to be birthed. So I'm looking forward to March 22nd. I'm looking forward to your book launch and praying that COVID will be locked down so I can make an appearance and show up and just be there to celebrate with you.
God is so good. God is
So now you've got a website.
Yes, bethevoidtoday.com. And that's still a work in progress. But the premise of my website is to provide motivation to uplift people. I want to get to the point where I'm putting a poem on there at least once a week. Like I
Mhm.
said, at the beginning of January, I'm really starting January. I'm really launching that whole poetry promotion. I said my goal is to be known as the motivational poet. I can't do that if I'm not putting myself out there, right? So
Mhm.
so I've been really working in the whole marketing campaign and really setting myself up. So by the time March 22nd come around, it won't be who is this guy trying to sell a poetry book. It's that's the motivational poet. He got some
Come
heat
on.
for us, guys.
Oh, I feel so blessed because I'm getting to be here at the beginning. I'm
Yes.
like, yes, thank you. Thank you for the honor. I am honored. I am honored that I'm getting to be here at the beginning of your launch. And I can tell folks, yeah, I knew him when. I knew him when he didn't know how to do Facebook and all that stuff. I
I'm
knew him. I know he all over the place now. He got all this Facebook and Periscope and Instagram and
see,
Twitter and Paula and all these others. I knew him when.
but at that moment in time, I'll be outsourcing. I still might not know how to do that stuff. I'll just have people just making sure, hey, tell me where to pose, tell me what camera to look at. I don't know all that tech stuff. Y'all got that.
It feels good to be at the beginning of something phenomenal.
Oh yes, it does.
It feels
Man.
good to be at the beginning
You have to
of
enjoy the
something phenomenal.
journey. You have to enjoy the journey. You can't just only just put on a smile when you get there. And I told man, I smile every day. I
Mm,
go through stuff. I might cry before the day over. I don't want to never make people just think I'm just some perfect being without life. Anyone that knows me, they know, man, Stephon goes through stuff. It's just that when I'm helping someone else, it's not about me. And I can tap into this just selfless, be there for whoever I need to be there for in that moment. And that's why I try to do that more often, because it takes the attention off of me, and then it keeps me from sulking and worrying about myself and all these other things. I'm putting my attention into other people, and I'm realizing how blessed I am, because the people that
mm,
I'm helping, I'm in a position to help them. So my situation can't be that bad. It might not be where I want it to be, but obviously someone finds value in things I have to say. That's a
come on.
blessing. It's a
That's a
blessing.
blessing. That's a blessing. All right. Bless us. We're down to the last 10 minutes, last 9 minutes. Bless us with some word.
All right. This is one of my favorite poems at the particular time. I like to recite it. It's called Who Knows?
Mm,
And who knows what we have the potential to be? I just hope you see potential in me. Or maybe I can restore my confidence and I can see it in myself. Then I won't care if you disagree. Because I know I was placed here for a good reason. And in the midst of adversity, I'm going to come into my season.
all
And when
right.
I do, oh, baby, when I do, a lot of people will be shocked like they never had a clue. Life is about decisions, so be careful what you do and be careful who you trust. A lot of people have deceived me. If I told you my life story, you wouldn't believe me. So when I make it, just know it wasn't easy. I'm as humble as they come. We didn't really practice good customs comedy, product of my environment, so of course it has a bond with me. I always felt a little different, so I felt like an anomaly. I'm trying to be the first in my family to own property. Sounds crazy. Nothing like the routes that you went, but we ain't all stupid. We just never had the blueprint. A lot
Mm,
of talent, like the resources to use it. So when I get it, I know it will be amazing. And I'll
mm,
be sure to pass it down some generations. I value love over hate. There's no debating. But if you feel different, we can end the conversation. Metaphorically, I see myself as a trash man cleaning up pollution. Are you a problem or a solution? It's
mm,
our duty to live a life filled with contribution, making the world a better place for you and me. So much destruction, yet I'm steady preaching unity. Strength in numbers, together we are unstoppable. As Les would say, you must first tell yourself it's possible. Not that we can just live our dreams, but that we can also coexist as a team. It's not as complicated as they try to make it seem. Don't
mm.
hate me. I love you. Let's sit at the table and ponder together. I want to be a black superhero, raising and inspiring other black superheroes to unleash their superpowers. Rest in peace, big brother, Wakanda forever. I'm sorry, it kind of caught me up at the end, but
I love it. I love it. Anybody who can rhyme the word anomaly has got my vote. I like your poetry is gonna send people to the dictionary. Be like, what was that word?
I hope so. I think my poetry is a mixture of, like I said, my therapy sections mixed with
Mm,
all the motivational speaking that I've listened.
mhm.
You hear Les Brown and different people in it, mixed
Yeah,
with just the words that I've learned, and I just find a way to just put it all together
I
and just
love
write
it.
real authentic stuff from my heart. And I don't, and that's the thing I realized when I used to write, thinking about how other people would perceive my writing, it affected me every time. But when I
Mm,
write, like put myself in the zone and I'm writing I'm just writing, pure
mhm,
writing, and then I just let the world see it, like take it how it is. That's just how I felt. I get the most amazing, reviews, and it's like, wow, Stephon, like trust that inner voice. Stop
mhm.
always trying to conform to your surroundings. Trust that inner voice,
Yeah, that inner voice is all right. That inner voice can
Uh,
write some nice stuff. I really enjoyed that. I love being the first person in your family to own property. I love the line about not having the blueprint, having the skills, having the talent, but not having the blueprint. And that resonated. That resonated for me because there are so many of us out here who want to do so many great and amazing things. And we just don't know where to get started, where to look. And now we get the privilege of being that light shining in their darkness. As they're out looking for the way, we get to be we get to be way makers. We get to show them the way that they can begin to accomplish those significant, important dreams that God has placed inside them. So thank you for that poem. Who knows?
Who knows?
That's real. That's real. Who knows? God knows. God knows what he put in us. He knows what it takes to get it out of us. And he is with us 100% the whole way through. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Stephon Sizzle Suggs. And I'll go back to calling you Sizzle. I just love playing with that name, Stephon. But thank you, Sizzle Suggs, the motivational poet. Hey, you've been hanging out with Cassandra, Dr. K Brown, the Tilted Fedora trainer, and my partner in conversation today, Stephon Sizzle Suggs. And from now on, just Sizzle Suggs, the internationally known, highly sought after motivational poet. You can look for him in March of next year on his birthday. He's releasing his new book of poetry. He's going to have some other products that are going to be dropping and some other things that are coming up. As in January, we pull out of COVID and Sizzle is going to take the brakes off. And we will see you at the top. All righty. Much love to you all. There's your kiss. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, you guys.